Mangastorian, we're going on a break. I'm thinking we should do a 2-year, 3-day break. Oh, but tish. You see what I did there? My name is Benny. I go by the name Comicstorian. I read a lot of comic books and give my opinions on them. I started a Mangastorian channel where I read old manga and I give my opinions on it. It's kind of the same concept, except I can't do audio dramas over here for fear of the copyright dragon. Make a copyright dragon, Kevin. I don't know how you do it, but whatever. All right, guys, today's a special episode. We are officially past the halfway mark of One Piece. It officially ended at the time skip. We have officially waited 2 years and 3 days to officially be at this video. It's weird. I look the exact same as I did 2 years, 3 days ago. So I guess my training with hockey didn't do anything. But Tish, I'm full of jokes today. So we officially hit the halfway mark, and I thought that this would be a fun one to kind of go over my overall opinions of One Piece as a whole, what's changed since the beginning, my opinions, and some things that I've noticed looking back and forth between a couple of things. The reason for that is simple. We're doing this by arcs, and Return to Sabaody is a 5-chapter arc. So I can give you a 5-minute video, or we celebrate me getting halfway through and giving you my responses to everything. So we'll go through the chapters to begin with. For those who are here for the first time, weird video to start on, but I'm reading the manga, not watching the anime, meaning that my responses are going to be different than what happens to you. We're actually going to talk a lot about that because I've started watching the anime. But let's start with Return to Sabaody. This whole arc is basically the crew getting back together after the 2-year arc. Awesome, was really hyped to get into this. I loved the idea that there is a fake Straw Hats crew that looks nothing like the Straw Hats, which is hilarious, but it's even funnier that Chopper and Luffy don't realize that. I love that they're confused by it all. Like, no one else is confused. Those two are confused. And it totally fits in the characters of Chopper and Luffy being confused. Going all the way back to Sniper King, where they were confused and not realizing that Sniper King was someone that we all know and love. So they began to reveal everyone that showed up that was showing back up. One big thing that I did notice, but I want to talk more about this in like the post after we get out of this main area here, but Luffy's scar. But we're going to go into that in a minute because I found some interesting factoids about Luffy's scar. First off, Brook got famous. That was cool. I wrote Sanji has a goatee. I think Sanji looks better with a goatee. I then wrote Nami got hot. Just Nami got hot. Just straight. It's literally all I wrote for the note. Just Nami got hot. And then I wrote Usopp got hot. So don't worry, guys. Both of them got hot. But also, Usopp got a new hat. That was cool too. I liked that they came back to Duvall had watched the ship. I remember them mentioning that Duvall was going to watch the ship, but I like that he's now just recovering from constantly fending off people trying to take the Straw Hats ship. I then wrote Robin got hot. So you can see where so Nami, Usopp, and Robin, that's the got hotter thing. I put Chopper got cuter. Why did they draw different eyelashes on him? Like they changed his eyelashes. At least I think they did with the new hat. Hold on, I'm gonna pull them up side by side. They did, okay. The way they draw him, the anime doesn't have them though. But he's got like 3 extra eyelashes here when he does his cute face. Weird. Chopper got cuter. And then I wrote, and he got dumber. How could he fall for that? Implying when he just followed along. Look, okay, at least the 2 guys looked like they were wearing the clothes. The one who was supposed to be Robin was shorter, uglier, and not even in the right outfit. And Chopper's like, Robin! So I was kind of like, oh, yeah. I guess you just got dumber as time went on. Whatever. I also loved that Robin got kidnapped and then he was upset because no one would go save her. All of that was going on. The whole thing was great. I loved that little sequence. Frankie, so I knew what he was going to look like post time skip because if you remember all the way back to the first couple of episodes, I got into One Piece by going to the One Piece Red movie with a friend. So I knew what Frankie looked like and he stood out to me because I hated his design. That hasn't changed. I hate the new design. He's officially in there and he's just like, I am now a robot. I'm like, Frankie. I actually kind of started to like you pre-time skip. Now I don't. Zoro lost an eye. That was crazy. Like, I want to know what happened there. I wonder if we'll ever find out. And Luffy looks almost the same except for the scar, and he also put on a mustache because Hancock told him to. I also loved that when the chapters started up, Hancock is now trying to marry Luffy, so we've progressed Hancock's obsession with Luffy, and he's straight up telling her no. And she's like, he means he's coming back later. And I'm just like, oh, this is funny. We have the big battle with the fake crew. They end up winning. Obviously, the fake crew is nobody's. The Marines have been waiting for the Straw Hats to arrive. The Straw Hats just kind of pile on the boat and just sail away, ready for the next adventure. They don't really sail away, they sail under, because the coding is finally on, which I did find kind of funny that it took Rayleigh 2 years. I know he was training Luffy, but 2 years to complete the job that they started 2 years, 3 days ago, before that. Like, just, I get it. He went to the island, he was training Luffy, they had a war. I get all that had happened. I just find it kind of funny. Like, no, we talked about putting this coding on a long time ago. So that's pretty much it. They just kind of sail away from the Marines. There's no significant Marine that stood out to me. There's the big girl. I don't remember her name. She's now a Marine. But I don't think any of the other important Marines showed up at the island because they didn't know when the Straw Hats were going to come back. They just knew that they would come back. So they had a large force there, but like we didn't have any admirals. There was no 7 warlords. None of that. None of those guys were on the island. So the Straw Hats were pretty much able to just sail away. It was pretty simple for them. And that was it. That was the return to Sabaody. It was fun. I was excited. So let's go into some things that I have noticed. First off, I'll go back to my original thoughts on the series when I started it. It started out very cartoony, very childish. If you remember back to our first videos, I always didn't get into One Piece because I found the overall presentation and style to be very much a cartoon and not an anime. Now, bear in mind, this series came out in the 90s when, to me, anime meant Moody, Broody, Hellsing, or Trigun, or Neon Genesis. So, like, to me, anime was like, that's adult animation. I want to see a guy that's so sad that he's going to sit on a chair and cry about it. And we're going to tell him to just get up, Shinji. Like, this is the kind of stuff I wanted, you know. This is the stuff I was into. And I always thought of, like, One Piece on the level of Pokemon when I was a kid. Pokemon is an anime, but Pokemon was geared to kids. It was like a kid's cartoon, but anime. And that's how I always thought of One Piece. So when I started reading this after watching One Piece read, that's what I was expecting. I actually did not expect this series to last on the channel. You guys kept saying every arc would turn me into a One Piece fan. I'll say what really kind of locked me in was probably Arlong. Before that, there was a few scenes that got me into it. I was like, I want to see what's gonna happen. Before that, though, I will admit it was your reactions here on Mangastorian that kept me interested into keep reading. I probably would have dropped off around the Usopp arc, Syrup Village, I think it's what it's called. If it was just me reading this for fun. And not that I would have dropped off and been like, I hate this. It would have turned into what happens to a lot of series for me where I'm like, slow moment, so I'm going to go over here and read this thing and forget I was reading One Piece. I feel like that's what would have happened. I will admit, initially, your guys' reactions, the views on these first videos definitely made me be like, well, let me see what they're talking about. There's a lot of reaction. A lot of people are excited to have me read this. Again, if you don't know who I am outside of this Mangastorian channel, I have 3 million subscribers, or just shy of that, over on Comicstorian. We've been talking about comic books for 12 years. So I'm known for reading lots of different media and stuff like that. So I'll admit, Arlong locked me into where I wanted to keep reading and I wanted to see what was going to happen. It was no longer I'm doing this because it's good videos. It became I'm doing this because I'm actually enjoying One Piece. My initial reactions, I didn't like Luffy until the middle of Alabasta. And I think that's why I would have dropped off the story. I found Luffy to be the worst character. Like, he was dumb. He was always causing problems. Half the issues with the Straw Hats were because of Luffy. And I didn't feel like he had any good motivation for what he was doing until Alabasta. Like, I didn't like his character. Zoro's what stood out to me early on. I liked Zoro. But again, remember back to how I said I used to watch anime, it was always the moody, broody stuff. Like, that's just what I enjoy. Out of the backstories we've now officially gotten, I made a brief mention of this in the last one, Robin stands out to me to be the most heartwarming, the most touching. It's the one that caused me to cry on the airplane. I enjoyed that one the most. I don't know if it's because, you know what, I do know. It's partially because we didn't get right into it. It's because Robin showed up and then Robin built up kind of a good standing with the crew and a good character. And then it was all revealed. But the way it was revealed was very interesting and fun. So when we finally got to it, in the request from Luffy to tell me that you want to live, it was such a moving moment. I found Luffy's to actually be one of the weakest up to this point, only because, and I said it in the other video, so I won't go super much into it here. it just felt to be a lot of information that was missing that we never even got an indication existed. The town next to him, Sabo, all that kind of stuff. It was a good story. I liked it. It did stand out, but I did find it to be probably one of the weakest. Zoro's is similar in that fashion. I liked Zoro's a lot, but I feel like there's so much unanswered that we haven't gone into yet with Zoro's history. I do know, just because somebody told me, I forget who, I don't know if it was a comment or Kevin or somebody, but they were like, Wano's going to explain Zoro. So I know Wano. And I know Wano because when I first started doing this, you all said, see you in Wano. And I was like, what the freak is Wano? Nami's is great. I thought Nami's was a good story. I liked the Vivi backstory. Chopper's I found to be a little bit weak, only because Chopper to me, I like Chopper. I like Chopper as a character, but Chopper doesn't do anything. Chopper just always seems to be there and just cries. So I think that's the problem I have with Chopper. Frankie grew on me, and now I don't think I'm going to like him anymore because he looks dumb. I'm just saying it. He looks dumb. Brooke, I'm excited, came back. I was actually a little worried because I didn't know much about Brooke. Brooke doesn't show up in every single one of the wallpaper crew things I've got. So I didn't know if Brooke was going to leave because he was such a new member and then got famous. So it's kind of like, oh, then Brooke might be off the crew. He actually might leave the crew. So I'm kind of glad that Brooke's here because I don't know anything about Brooke, but I want to know more about Brooke. I like the idea of Brooke. My favorite storyline at this point, easily Enies Lobby. Probably because of how much I enjoyed Robin's backstory. War Arc, I did really enjoy. Not for the reasons I think a lot of you do, but I do think it just opened up the world of One Piece to another section inside of it that I really hadn't even considered. Ace, Whitebeard, all these other characters, all this other stuff is going on. When we're doing One Piece, it just feels like we're following the Straw Hats, but the War Arc really made you realize this is a universe of pirates and stuff and things going on, and I really enjoyed that. Arlong is the one that got me hooked on the series. I don't think it's one of the strongest stories, though, but I do think it gave me an idea of what we're going to be getting into. I felt Alabasta went on too long. I enjoyed Skypiea, contrary to what a lot of people think, and I have a reason why I think a lot of you don't like Skypiea, but I'll get into that in a minute. I enjoyed Skypiea for the most part. The biggest issue I have with it is it just felt like a side quest. We didn't need Skypiea for the most part. Not that it won't come back. A lot of stuff comes back, but I feel like Skypiea is probably the weakest. Thriller Bark was also a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Thriller Bark. It was longer and more interesting than I thought it was going to be because a lot of people were like, just skip over Thriller Bark. If you haven't caught on, I'm not skipping over anything at this point, so we're good to go with that. Any other arcs stand out to me? Water 7 was fun, but I felt like Water 7 was just the build-up for Enies Lobby. Like, that's all it really was. It was setting everything up that was going to come to fruition in Enies Lobby. So I kind of consider that to be one full arc, not a Water 7 Enies Lobby arc. In standard ADD fashion, I did start acquiring One Piece statues, merchandising. I have like 4 or 5 of the card games out there that I'm not allowed to open until I get past Dressrosa. I have bought 2 PS5 games because they were on sale, which I'm not allowed to play until I get to Dressrosa. I've planned out watching the movies with my wife, which we're not allowed to watch until we get to Dressrosa. And I have hoodies that I don't know characters of until we get to Dressrosa, I assume at this point. You'll see all of that in one of the future videos. It's all kind of coming in one piece at a time. Oh, get it? Now the other discussion. So Natalie, my wife, she wanted to watch One Piece early on. She found Luffy to be annoying. Hey, get it? We both thought of that. She found Luffy to be annoying, so she never watched the cartoon. Anime. I still think of it as a cartoon, and I know technically it's just a Japanese cartoon. I get that, and I know, but I also know that a true person who watches anime will like literally cut my head off as Zoro's 3-sword style for calling it a cartoon. Which is hilarious, because if I'm like, yo, I'm watching JoJo, it's an anime. Yo, I'm watching Darling in the Franxx, it's an anime. Oh, there's One Piece, that's the cartoon. Like, it's still in my head that way. Anyway, she's starting to watch the anime, and I'm watching pieces of it with her. And now I realize what a lot of you have complained about. There's so much filler. Oh my gosh. We're sitting here and I'm watching segments, and I'm like, okay, so this segment's coming up. This is going to be really exciting. Make sure you pay attention to this. And then we go on some random adventure. with like an old man in a suit, or we go do a PlayStation 2 game recapped in the story where they lose their memories and we recap everything again. Or we just do like 3 episodes randomly off in the middle of nowhere doing other things. The Foxy Pirates, the Long Ring Long Island, half of what now I see why you guys said it just seems to drag on. Half of that isn't in the manga. Half of that isn't in there. It literally is just 3 contests done quickly. It's like 20 chapters. It's a quick read. Now I see what the complaints are. You know, and then at the end of Long Ring Long Island, before we get to Akiji, we got a whole PlayStation game turned into episodes where they all lose their memories and then we need to remember why they're on the crew. Also not in the manga. I don't have to worry about that stuff. There's so much filler. I'm looking at the guide because I follow story arcs on I literally look up One Piece story arcs and it comes up with the wiki, and that's how I follow what story arc I'm on and when the chapters end. If you look at the episodes, which I've been doing now, it's like episodes 301 to 305 and then 308 to 312. And it's just so weird, the amount of filler. And I can see where a lot of the complaints are coming in because Skypiea had a whole bunch of filler. Now I see what a lot of the complaints are with Skypiea, because they not only did it have a lot of filler, but then we had the G8 arc afterwards, which kind of ties into it. So while the filler is in and out of the main story arcs, they put these filler arcs in the middle. So we're not just directly going to the next adventure like I am in the manga. The manga feels so much faster and more condensed. If anything, I want more time with the Straw Hats in the manga. Like a case in point, Ace. Ace has more screen time in the anime before we get to the war arc. In the manga, he doesn't. We barely see him. So now I understand why a lot of you are like, oh my God, the Ace scene. Yeah, because he has like a whole mini arc half the time he's around. But in the manga, he's just like, yo, I'm Luffy's bro, bye. Like that's literally what he's like in the manga. So I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to really care about Ace. I see why they changed it. It makes you care more. Another one, Robin. Robin doesn't do much post Alabasta because it goes Skypiea and then it goes into Water 7. And I think and Long Ring Long Island. So she's there, but I remember one of my complaints at this point was Robin is my favorite character design, but she's not doing anything. And everyone was like, oh, don't worry, you're about to get into the Robin arc. Well, in the anime, all these filler arcs are there. Robin's more of a part of the crew. Like, Natalie really likes Robin because she's in a lot more stuff. So I get it. It's good and it's bad. It really is. Coming from the manga, I kind of just want a lot of this filler gone, but I also understand it because Natalie loves the filler. She actually loves a lot of it for the banter, the back and forth, and the character. She wants the character moments. She doesn't care about getting to Gear 2 or Gear 3. She doesn't even know those exist because I haven't told her. She doesn't care about getting to Robin's backstory. She just wants to see Sanji and Zoro arguing. Like, she just finds it funny and enjoys it. That's literally it. I'll let her tell more of her thoughts because when we get back from this vacation I'm going on, she's going to sit down and finally tell you. She has to get to the war arc while I'm gone. So she is going to be halfway through One Piece as well, and we're going to sit down and talk to her. But I get it. I get it now. Another fun thing that I learned, we were watching that arc I mentioned, the one that's ripped out of a PlayStation game and put into the anime where they recap everyone's stuff. Okay, in the anime, Zoro gives Luffy his scar. He doesn't have the scar in the manga at that point because that arc doesn't exist. So I Googled where does he get the scar from, being like, what the hell? He doesn't have the scar. The scar came out of the war in the moment with Ace. So like when I'm coming back into Return from Sabaody, he has the scar. So I guess the anime makes it so the scar is worsened by that moment. And I don't know how true this is because I read this on the internet. But Oda liked the look of the scar from the anime, so that's why he gave it to Luffy. So the moment in which he gets it fighting Zoro isn't technically canon, but it's what inspired the real scar that he gets from the post-war arc, or our war arc. I found that just fascinating, because that scar is very iconic to Luffy, and he hadn't gotten it yet in my story. But thank you guys for being here, helping me get this channel off the ground, helping me become such a One Piece fan. Like I said, we're going to be splicing in Black Clover. We're going to be splicing in some other weird ones that I found. More Dragon Ball, things like that. I'm probably going to read some more One Punch. I got a lot of stuff on the list, but I hope you guys are excited. We're going to be doing a lot more here just because I love doing this and I want to make a weekly One Piece video, but I don't want to be only the One Piece guy. I don't want to be the One Piece historian. I want to be the Mangastorian. Never mind the fact, according to you guys, I miss a lot of stuff in One Piece anyway. So I won't even be the One Piece historian until like my 5th read through, I guess. I got to reread like 5 times to get all the ins and outs of One Piece. Anyway, thank you guys so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you next time right here at One Piece Historian.